On August 1st, Michigan's 12 federally recognized tribes submitted to the state their initial joint comments on dynamic risks June 27th, 2017 draft report. To our disappointment, Dynamic Risk's final report addresses none of our concerns and in all material respects is a reproduction of the deeply flawed draft report. Prior to the deadline, the 12 tribes will submit another written document titled Tribal Comments on Dynamic Risk Final Alternatives Analysis. Due to our time constraints, I'll only mention a couple of the points being covered in that document. Operation of the Straits pipelines cannot be justified by Michigan-based needs. Final report continues to prioritize the commercial needs of Enbridge. The final report fails to account for tribal interests. The final report continues to underestimate the costs of a spill. So why are we even here tonight? In effect, this deeply flawed alternatives report has been short-circuited by the governor's backroom deal with Enbridge, the November 27, 2017 agreement. At least the Dynamic Risks final report purports to address all alternatives. But the November 27, 2017 agreement between the governor and Enbridge limits consideration of alternatives just to various options for pumping oil through the Straits, and not to other possible feasible and prudent alternatives that don't involve pumping oil through the Straits. Thus, the state's current position violates Michigan's law because the governor's agreement fails to require Enbridge to prove that there is no feasible, prudent alternative to the continued pumping of oil through the Straits, as required by the Michigan Environmental Protection Act. Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians protests the governor's November 27, 2017 agreement with Enbridge because it doesn't take into consideration these basic facts. Great Lakes fishing rights were reserved in the 1836 treaty. Michigan achieved statehood in 1837, subject to these treaty fishing rights. Written history dating back for 350 years confirms the Mackinac Straits has historically been a very important place for the Ottawa and Chippewa Indians and fishing. The Straits area remains today our 1836 treaty tribe's most important fishing grounds. Line 5 poses an unacceptable risk of harm to our treaty reserved resources. The governor's Enbridge agreement with Enbridge ignores our pre-existing treaty fishing rights, violates Michigan environmental protection laws, breaches his own commitment, the governor's own commitment to consult with tribal governments. You, the Governor Snyder's administration, the DEQ, DNR director, our Energy Agency Executive Director, should really be ashamed. Not only are you breaching your duty to the tribes, you're violating the public trust doctrine to the detriment of all Michigan citizens by prioritizing economic interests of Enbridge over preserving the pure Michigan waters of the Straits. Miigwech.